don't forget to subscribe to not miss out on our next episode. We are excited to be here today with DJ and producer Dana Montana. Dana was born in Zaporozhye, Ukraine, and is based in Antwerp in Belgium. Dana Montana is quickly establishing themselves in the LGBTQ plus scene and beyond, and is inspired by the sound of the 90s. They create and plays house, hard house, trance, and more. In this conversation, we speak about who they were when growing up, being an outsider in school, how they one day decided to become a DJ and found their place, and how that journey has looked like and shaped them. We also speak about the techno and rave scene and diversity. I am Amanda, and this is Playful Podcast. You have been living in Antwerp for 5 years.
Yeah.
And before that, you lived in Ukraine, in
Before that I lived in small towns in Belgium.
Okay.
So I moved in Belgium in 2010, actually. And before that I lived in Ukraine. And then afterwards, from 2010 until 2018, I lived in those very small town in Belgium. And
All right.
yeah, that's where I also finished high school. And then when I graduated, I wanted to go to university in Antwerp.
Okay.
And after 1 year, I quit.
You quit because you were pursuing music, or?
Yeah, I think so. I think the main reason was because I was just really unhappy, and I was just, the thing is, like my whole life I had like a lot of interests but not many like passions, you know. And if you want to really pursue something, especially in higher studies where there's so high demands and like low workloads, it's hard to keep doing it if you're not passionate about it. So it didn't last long before I started feeling really, really unhappy. And by the end of the year, I was just like really depressed and really down. And there was just nothing else that I wanted to study. I looked for such a long time for like what will be like my passion or like a job later. I studied languages for a year, German and Italian.
Mm-hmm.
It was fun. Like the language part itself was nice, but there's like such a huge bit of like translation, kind of like they're like kind of teach you to be like a translator and like mainly like documents or like some scientific works, and it's so it's not for me. I would just like wanted to learn. Like my motivation was to learn the languages because I really love like the old cinema or like the music. But it's really not enough to like pursue a study of a translator.
No. Yeah. It's definitely something I associate with a slow lifestyle, but today feels like you don't live the slow lifestyle really.
Yes and no. I think I'm just a very slow person in general, and I think I still manage to to continue being that even the fast paced DJ life. But I think it's just like 2-3 days a week that your life is really fast, and then you come back home and you can be your slow self again. I think the airports is just like what demands the most discipline is getting there on time, which has been going well because I have like a very like worried manager that was always checking on me if I get everywhere.
Good.
So it's fine. I only missed one flight in 2 years.
Very well done.
Yeah, but generally, I would say that being a DJ is very stressful. It can be a lot sometimes if you have like 3 gigs a weekend. It's happened a few times so far, and you just have to be like really sharp and focused. But I feel like the atmosphere of airports and traveling automatically brings you like this kind of focus. I feel like even last year when I went on tour and there was like really many gigs in pretty short amount of time, so it was like lots of like traveling, like short stays. I feel like even no matter how tired you are, or even if you didn't sleep, like this adrenaline of like being alert to travel really really keeps you focused. So I don't really like randomly fall asleep at the time when I shouldn't be asleep.
Okay. But if we would go back in time a little bit, who were you as a kid?
As a kid, I've been always creative in different ways and just busy in my imagination a lot because I'm an only child of a single mom, so I spent a lot of time on my own always. So like kind of I had like some kind of like my own world in my head where I'm like the main character of in some sort of series, and I think it's kind of stayed this way until this day. It just like being alone a lot on your own and just like playing, or like I used to draw a lot, also like dancing or putting like fashion shows, or like even singing sometimes, or like all this kind of stuff, just like I don't know. And but yeah, besides that, especially in school, I've always been very much a black sheep somehow. And
Like you felt like an outsider.
yeah, very much, because I don't know, for some reason, and I noticed, I thought it was not like that anymore, but I literally noticed it last week that there's like this feature that still kind of stayed with me, that I always felt like a bit, I would say, like very like repelled by like the cool kids, you know? They're, you know, like especially in school, you feel, I used to feel at that kind of like some like this hierarchy,
Yeah.
when you have like the cool kids and they really feel like so full on themselves, and also like for some reason that was like really not clear to me, like all kids used to flock around them, and like I even like remember having like classmates who like brought like free chips to them or did their homework for them, and I was like, so I was, as a kid, I was like outraged by that, and I was like kind of like openly expressing my dislike towards the popular kids, and that turns everyone kind of against you.
Exactly.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I always used to have like one friend.
But it also shows character very much, which they didn't like.
Yeah, it's not a very beneficial position to be, but it was mainly in Ukraine, and after, so I was so victorious when I left Belgium. Because back then I was also like bullied a lot, even by the teachers.
Why?
It's I
Or
don't
like,
know, because
yeah,
just
there's no other reason
being,
to be bullied. It's
because
just
if you're just like not with the popular group and you're like a bit off, even I don't know in which way I was weird, because I don't know, but if like people sense that and they just start like picking at you, and I remember bullied a lot with the word UFO, like the aliens, you know, like the ships that they fly. And so yeah, because I think I was like a bit maybe like absent or like dreaming a lot, and just, yeah, you know, like being in my own world and just like drawing a lot, always sitting in the back like snacking and drawing, and like not, so yeah, it was just like they were bullying me as like the UFO, like the alien.
and you were like,
And I
look
remember,
who's the fucking rock star alien now.
yeah, and I actually, without being aware of it so much, I kind of still felt like the resonance with that. And I even found like a few years ago, remember like the day when their profile pictures used to be long like this on Facebook a long time ago.
I don't remember this.
Yeah, like back in the days they were like on the left,
Oh,
and
that's
it was
true.
they
Now
were
I
long, they were
remember.
elongated, and they were like this kind of like small apps where you could decorate it with the frame
Oh,
or like some
yeah.
words around it. And I think I have like this profile picture when I think I'm like 12 there or 11, and underneath like this long profile picture there's like a picture of an alien. It says alien rules.
That's iconic.
Yeah.
We need to see this.
Yeah, I can send it to you. I'm pretty sure I have it somewhere.
That is, I love that. Yeah, I feel that it explains definitely something. Also the way of like, how do you say when you are like claiming something? What's the word?
Reclaiming?
Reclaiming. Oh God, it's morning. I'm having a beer. What can I say? Yeah, that you are reclaiming the alien part. And how did you? What's the avatar thing?
There is nothing really
No.
related to Avatar. I saw that movie once,
Oh yeah.
but I mentioned it in like my post. Like this her set was not sponsored by Avatar too. It's just pure coincidence actually. I got that blue paint a few years ago, and my main inspiration for that was Juno Birch, the drag queen that is really known for her colored, also alien aesthetic, and I feel like very connected to her because she also used to have a series of videos where she plays Sims, and I used to be absolutely addicted to that game when I was a child. So it was such a nice discovery. And I think a few years ago, I think it was 2020, I got just out of the blue, I got this like the spot of blue paint, and I painted myself for the first time, and I was so happy about it. I also put like this little sunglasses and like a pink jacket, and I felt so good. I was like, I wish my skin was like that the whole time. And it's actually the same color that I used for the set, and it just happened to be the exact color of the top I was gonna wear, and I was like, oh my god, this is it.
This is
perfect because it really looks like it just my
melts
skin
together,
'Cause
yeah.
I sent the video to my mom, and I think she just saw the thumbnail. I was just like, oh my god, are you wearing a bra? I was like, no, it's a whole top. But she just saw like my face like blended with the top, and she thought I was wearing a bra because there's like this like piece where it's in another like lighter color, so from far it could look like I'm not wearing a full top.
So funny. But were you this, you mentioned the Sims and also being an introvert and feeling like an outsider. And I just thought about like, were you this person who felt that you didn't have a need of socializing, or were you finding communities online?
I think in real life at school, it was more like I didn't feel the need to. Because often like people are like coming to me like, hey, you should like join us or like come sit with us. And I honestly felt like they were being kind to me, but I just felt no connection whatsoever with the kids because my interests were always so different and like unrelatable. So I could not relate to like the topics they were talking to. So I just preferred to sit alone and like draw. But I remember, I think from the age of, I would say 14, 15, I started to use internet a lot, and like I was like on Tumblr a lot, and there were like a lot of like people over there to talk to, and I think I used to be kind of connected with some people. Actually, I've never even seen their faces, but yeah, like this having like internet friends. I remember that time. I didn't think back much about it, but yeah, I think I used to do that online. But still, I have like maybe one or two friends mostly at school in Belgium.
Oh, yeah.
I was not bullied anymore in Belgium. Gladly.
And then how did your musical journey look like then?
The musical. So the thing is, I've always been into music and discovering music a lot. I think from the age of, I would say like 14 up until now, I've had like so many waves of different genres. Like I think I could make like a whole chronological like timeline of the genres I was into, and they were like stretching from like K-pop and then Beatles, then like psychobilly and rockabilly, then punk and metal, and then it went into like those 60s like hippie like Woodstock artists, and then it went towards jazz. And I used to have like this time when I think I'm still pretty obsessed with this Italian bossa nova soundtracks from the 60s. So you have like Brazilian bossa nova and you have Italian. So I'm also like a bit of an expert on elevator music, but I call it not elevator music. It's called easy listening or bossa nova. So there was that, and then I think a lot of music in generally, but never much electronic music. I think I discovered electronic music around the age of, I would say maybe 18 or 19, and it was actually vaporwave. was my gateway to electronic music. It was vaporwave, and then it was future funk and chill hopians, like this. Around that time there was like lots of kind of music that branched out the vaporwave and that kind of aesthetic, where there was a lot of recycling and sampling and or even just like old music that was kind of like put on reverb on or slowed down. And that was how I got into that. And I think the first time when I actually heard like house or techno music when I moved to Antwerp and went to a party called Drag Me to Hell for the first time. And that's where I discovered like the more dark electronic music or stuff like that. And yeah, and that's also where I found my family of people. It was the first time where I felt like I belonged somewhere. It was, I was like 21. And then it was like a whole world that opened to me when I moved to Antwerp. It was really beautiful.
And from there you started to like DJ yourself, or like
so it's actually it's a bit of a stupid story, I find. Like, it's so I went to Drag Me to Hell. It was my very first time going there. I knew nothing about electronic music or like the queer community in Antwerp. And we just saw the flyers with my friends and we're like, okay, let's go there. We heard there's like some performances and drag queens. Like, let's go check it out. And I went there, and on that exact night, my ex-partner broke up with me on the party. So
on the party, that's a nice
on the
one.
party.
Mm-hmm.
So like they left and I felt like it was over. And then the whole party, I kind of just like sat in the corner. I was just like trying to process it because it was like a really hard moment. And after breaking up, I was just feeling like, I don't know, so down and so empty that, I kind of feel the need to fill the void with something. And then I was like, I also started watching Drag Race around that time. And I saw in season 1, there was this contestant called Nina Flowers. And it's actually a drag queen that was also a DJ. And I was so fascinated by that. I was like, oh my God, it's such a cool idea of looking like super crazy, like being a drag queen, but also, like being a DJ on a party. So I was like, I want to be that. I want to do that. And then I texted Matti, which is the organizer of Drag Me to Hell, and also the only DJ I've ever seen or known back in the day. I was like, I want to become a DJ. What do I do? And then he sent me, like you should get like that gear or like CDJs. And then, then like look for music and make a mixtape. So I remember spending my entire savings, like my little piggy, completely empty to buy like the setup of like CDJs and a mixer of Pioneer 350. And
350, and that was old even then, or?
Yeah, actually yes, it was, but I didn't know it back then. I was like, I didn't know there were like big screens on the CDJ, so I started off with that, and it was actually pretty good gear. I still have it, and then I just started looking for music, but I have no background in electronic music whatsoever, so I was like, so I also texted Matti once again, where do I find like house music? And he was like, okay, he just sent me a YouTube link to one house track, and he said, look for the suggestions from then on. And then I just looked for like music. I think I literally just Googled house or techno on SoundCloud and on YouTube, and then I just looked throughout tracks, making completely random music selections that seemed cool to me, or something that I thought like, oh, because I really liked what Matti played. He's like very, like, used to play like a lot of like electro and ghetto, and I used to love that so much. But I didn't know what the name of it was back then. So whenever I heard a track that sounded like something that he would play, I was like, oh, this is nice, I'm gonna save it. So I was just like collecting music of like all different genres, but I don't really have like lots of knowledge about electronic music. And I think by now, also, of course, by like discovering so much new stuff and playing, I gradually discovered like the new subgenres and kind of like figured out for myself what the electronic music from different decades sounded like. But back in the day, it was just like a mix of everything. And I feel it's also like a feature that I kind of cherish, is not to over-educate myself on that term, and like don't look too much of what other DJs are playing, or just like don't look too much into what is played, because to keep this feeling of like childlike wonder of discovering like a new subgenre or a new track. And it's really, it kind of keeps it fresh for me.
Yeah, to not feel confused by, yeah, because this is something I have been thinking about actually. Sometimes when you admire someone or like their style because they have found their unique style, you can be confused with what's actually coming inside from yourself and what you like, right?
Yeah.
And then it seems like you found the key to that. That like now what you create, like what you play, is what comes from.
Yeah, I guess so. I think it can feel or like come across as a bit close-minded, because I think from one side it's important to know what's going on in the scene and what people are playing and what like the signature styles of the DJs are, but at the same time I feel like I like kind of like, I don't know, at the same time I really just like to not know what is being played or like what is the most played track of this season, and to just like not kind of like ruin it for you, because I also feel like whenever it's a bit stubborn that when I hear some track being played a lot, I don't want to play it anymore. It's kind of like ruined it for you. But if you find a track and you never heard it anywhere before, maybe it has been played 100 times this month, but you never heard it anywhere, you're like, oh, so excited about this track. But for now, I think whether I want it or not, I still already like know who is playing what. But I'm trying not to look around too much and just like dig into some like small music sources and like dig out some old forgotten things and just trying to bring something that people haven't heard before or maybe not even gonna hear ever again.
Yeah, and we also talked a little bit before we put rec on about the rave scene in Antwerp. That it's like small and it's not so much going on. Have you also discovered the rave scene in Ukraine?
A bit, actually. I only got the chance to discover it in end of 2021, and back then I didn't know that there was gonna be war, and I came in September, and it was the first time actually like properly visiting Kiev for me, and I played in K41, which was such an honor, and I'm super glad that I still got the chance to see the city and see how the music scene was there. And it was really nice. But before that, I haven't been to a really like an actual rave until the age of 21.
All right. It feels like you've been like progressing very quickly. Like when you found out that music was something you wanted to do, it feels like you just like it clicked.
Yeah, because the thing is, because of listening to so many different genres, I've been digging for music a lot throughout my whole youth. It was just other types of music, and now so I'm kind of also used to look for music a lot and spend lots of time on that, and also loving the fact that you can like hear the same track over and over again without being tired of it. So it kind of really, just looking for music to DJ with was just kind of extension to what I was doing as when I was younger. But now, of course, it's kind of demands to put more thought into it, because you have to put a set together and create something coherent out of it, which is also a challenge because I'm into so many different genres that especially in the beginning it was hard to put a set together. I find it's really hard to put like a set that just is like one whole, like, because I know like some DJs, they have like their certain vibe or certain type of music, and they manage to put like one set that really sounds very consistent. I think consistency is like what was a bit challenging, because I used to put so many different genres into it, so I kind of had to look for tracks that sound in between the two genres, that can connect one genre to another, as like in the kind of like in between transition tracks. So
how do you create or like build your sets?
I think from the very beginning, I always used to build sets that go from slower to faster towards the end. So that's kind of the main thing. I put like the slower tracks in the beginning, and then the the more fast and pumpy ones towards the end, and you just look for like elements that's kind of present in the both tracks. And then you, yeah, how do I explain it? You have like those tracks. For example, if you have like a track that has like a lot of hi-hats and the other one has like a really like pumpy bass or a harder beats, you look for a track that has pumpy beats and lots of hi-hats that kind of glues the previous and next one together.
Yeah, okay. I see, like a puzzle.
So it's kind of puzzling, and you have like those tracks that like glue them together in a way.
Yeah, okay, I see. Yeah, that sounds smart. Do you think are you drawn by any like emotions when you create a set? Is there anything that, do you understand what I mean?
Yeah, I think so. And it's also something that has kind of shifted during my career, but also kind of stayed the same, I guess. I think in the beginning it was more about to create a more like empowering vibe, and I used to have like this slogan in my bio, which is not there anymore. The soundtrack to your dance floor makeouts. So that was like my main goal is to create music that encourages people to like just dance and like feel their oats and just like make out or like dance together. So that was my main goal, and after a while, I think right now it has shifted to also the aspect of empowering people is very important, that people feel free and fabulous on the dance floor, but also putting an emphasis on the celebration aspect of partying, because I feel it's something that is might be a bit lacking from time to time, because I think the aspect of empowering is very present within many music genres and vibes, but the aspect of celebration is a bit, I think it's not enough represented in the music scene, because there's lots of like brutality and trying to like be cool, which is nice, but I feel we're, lots of people work during the whole week or like study or like just busy with so many things from Monday to Friday, and you have only I would assume only 2 free days, and you choose to spend your precious free time to go to a club. So I think it's so nice when you're just able to celebrate the weekend and celebrate life and the fact that you're free and you don't have to work, and that you can put on your nicest outfit and finally see your friends after a week of hard work. So that to me is very important to make people celebrate and also be able to celebrate it with them. Just that's why I also feel like dancing is such a big part of my set, is to so they, even if some people don't feel like dancing or feel like a bit shy or tired, I feel like if they see a DJ dancing, they feel, even if they're alone, they feel like someone is partying with me. I got someone to dance with, or like, why would I stay still if I see the person that is bringing the music having so much fun to it? So kind of also like giving the connection energy connection, and like giving the energy to the crowd, or like encouraging to move.
Yeah, there are so many keystones and like small details to the art of DJing.
Yeah,
it is really, and to build up an energy and to.
Yeah, there's so many different ways to do it.
Yeah,
and I feel like, there's like this funny comparison. I feel like DJs are kind of in some way like flowers, and everyone has a different color, and it like the bouquet would be so boring if everyone was the same. So that's why it's so important to have so many DJs of different colors and vibes that emphasize different aspects of human emotions, or like bring different kind of music, and that makes it so interesting that there's so many DJs, and for every person they can find a DJ that they can resonate with. If everyone would be like super serious or technical, or if we would all be like dancey and all that, it would be boring, but there's a bit of something for everyone to find.
That's such an important thing also to keep in mind when you're organizing a party, right? To not to think of the bouquet. That,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
I think that is such a
Think of the bouquet promoters. Think of the bouquet.
Don't pick just one flower.
Yeah.
Pick some grass also.
Yeah, the grass. Yeah, the grassroots. And yeah, I guess, yeah, that's true. That's true.
We have now come to the part of the podcast where if you're a Patreon, you get to listen to Dana Montana's secrets and tips for new producers. They are sharing their tips on how to find your community and grow as a producer and DJ. If I were you, I'd go to patreon.com/playfulmagazine. But do you feel that there are any do you have any scares for the scene, for the techno scene?
I'm not sure.
Fears, maybe.
I'm not. No, I just kind of try to look what I do and what I can do to do my very best. And I think it's always changing. And I don't feel that it's necessarily going into some bad direction. There are just some things that we may or may not like, but I feel generally there's a new generation coming that is very open-minded, I think. I feel like the younger generation has been very doing their best to promote the progressive way of thinking and like the inclusivity and like the safer spaces and like the diversity within the music. And there's still, of course, such a big segment of music industry that is kind of like dominated by the pioneers or by the older generation that are still maybe are not as inclusive or maybe like not always as looking in the different directions, like the thing that everyone knows, that it's always like the white guys, the straight white guys, the DJs. But I think there's been a change, and it's up to us to keep bringing the change. I see so many new like non-binary DJs, which makes me so happy because it's also such a underrepresented segment of the music industry, like the queer DJs and gender queer DJs, and there's be getting more and more of them, and you can also see that those people are getting the recognition that they deserve, and that also encourages other young new people to dare to step on the music path and to feel like there's room for everyone in it. Because I feel like I would say for the past like 15 years or like 20 years, there was this fight of women fighting for their place in the electronic music industry. And I think that fight is, maybe it's not entirely over, but quite successfully won by women. If you see so many like strong, like power figures like Charlotte de Witt or Amélie Lenz or like Peggy Gou, like, like those, the girls are like really rocking it in the scene. But now the next step of this fight is the queer people infiltrating the industry and reclaiming the place that was originally created by them, like the house music and stuff like that was created by queer people.
Have there been any parties that you have been like saying that you don't want to play at?
No, actually, I've no idea. I don't have much idea about the different kind of parties. I think when I get an offer, I look into it and I see if the music is fitting. That's the main criteria, is to see if the other DJs are in tune with what I play, because sometimes you get like the offer and you're like, why do they put me there? Like, do they even hear what I play?
Really, this is interesting. This is something I've been speaking about also with another artist, that they sometimes felt that some promoters, it can be clear from the artist point of view when the promoter only wants to put together something for the profit of the party. And when they actually know what artists blend on good, right?
I guess so. I don't know if I'm that much of a profit for a party yet. But yeah, in terms of music, I think that's the main point for me, to see if the music fits. And in terms of whether I want to play on like, the straight gigs or not, it's not always as easy, because of course we do feel more comfortable in more inclusive and thoughtful spaces, but there's still so many gigs that all of us queer DJs do that are not always like that are filled with like drunk straight people, and sometimes it can be a bit stressful because you feel like it's not entirely your environment. But at the same time, I feel that something that I defined for myself from the very beginning. I don't only want to play for queer people. For me, it's of course it's about queer representation, but at the same time, it's about spreading the joy through music, and the joy of music that I play shouldn't only be accessible for queer people. I feel even if there's like some, honestly, if I gotta be very honest, one of the most supportive crowds that often literally like lifted my spirits and saved my nights. It's like this few wasted straight dudes in the front that stand in the front your whole set and cheer and dance for you. And honestly, like straight people can be very fun sometimes. You just it's like always those like wasted straight dudes that are like can be the most supportive of the whole crowd. And I'm very very happy.
This goes out to the straight dudes at the front.
Yeah. So yeah, and
Dana sees you.
Yeah, and I feel even if you feel like, oh my god, this is really not my crowd, or this is not like the place to be for me. If you like lift your eyes up from your mixer and you look into the crowd, you see so many happy faces. And you see like people smiling at you and waving and dancing, even tracks that they never would have put on themselves. And you still see them having fun. And that's when I feel that my job is done well. And this is what kind of matters.
Yeah, well, is there anything you wish to like change in the scene?
Change. I think my main ambition for now, because I used to play techno before, and I recently started to feel that I don't resonate so much with it anymore, because to me it used to be like a very kind of like punk movement to me, which was a lot of like kind of like energy that has to get out. And during the past like 2 years, I feel like so many like anger or frustration has left my life, to the point where I don't feel the need or like the connection to like really hard and aggressive music. I just don't feel it's me anymore. But the music I was always drawn to was house music, because it's so happy and energizing in a different way. And to me also like the happy aesthetic, back in the days, especially like like in the high school, you see like like the black lips and like the dark attitude. It's like that was the form of rebellion. But now for me, coming to, I don't know, like on a lineup or at a club where everyone is dressed in black with a funky colorful clothes, that is like an act of resistance for me right now. And the mission, such a big word for it, like the ambition that I have is to bring house music back to younger and queer crowds, because now like the young queer people listen mainly to techno, but I feel that it's important for house music to be represented by young queer generation, because I feel very much like young people, because we are kind of like messengers, like Deliveroo people of music, and young people listen to music that is delivered by young people mostly. Like the older generation of DJs, more like adult people go there, but young people listen to young DJs mostly. So I very much feel like that it's important for the music that is originally queer to also to be represented by young queer generation again, and that way we can make people get interested in it again. And I feel like even I used to squeeze so much house music into my sets that were supposed to be techno for the past half year, and I can see people are always having fun with that. Even though I also heard it's like in the comments they like people come for techno and stay for house because it's a good time. You cannot ignore the good time. You cannot be like, ew, this is too happy.
They come for burger and stay for panorama bar. No, but yeah.
Perhaps.
But you also mentioned, well, I don't know if you were finished there.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I thought there was something you said in there that was that you used to be angry and you feel that part left you, but was it, do you believe through music that you got rid of the anger inside of you, or do you have any other ways?
I'm not sure. I think perhaps because of the last 2 years, I've very much found a sense of belonging and having a place within a community, like professionally and socially. And I just feel very loved and appreciated, and it just gives me a sense of peace that I no longer have to like fight really hard or like prove something to people. I'm just like very very in peace. And also because like when I was younger and I was still looking for what I'm gonna do for a job, or like not being able to find something like to earn money with it, it brought so much anxiety with it. It's also like when your parents are also like asking, so have you found a job, how are you gonna earn, how are you gonna provide for yourself, or like if you find like a day job, like oh yeah, but what's with the career, like what are you gonna like do, for like your big dream. And I find like this such a big chunk of like anxiety towards future has kind of been dropped because I found my place and I found what I want to do.
What do you think then success is?
Mm, it's being able to do what you love to do, and perhaps also earn your living with it, so you don't have to do any side quests that are making you happy, or just or like too tired to be able to do what you love, and to have goals and be able to fulfill them.
It's either this or it's that. This is this or that.
We have this or that. So you say which one you prefer of two statements.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. It can be none, it can be both, but preferably it's one.
Mm-hmm.
Open for all or strict door policy?
And in what term? Okay, I have
Clubs.
clubs. Difficult. It's such a deep topic. Open for all.
Open for all.
Open for all unless you're mean.
Yeah. Hopefully the securities can see that, but they can probably sense it somehow.
Yeah,
Often,
security is there for a reason.
yes, I agree. They need to read people. Yeah. So leave the meanies out. Spirituality or atheism?
Spirituality.
Yeah, you're like
I think when I was around like 18, between 18 and 20, I used to read a lot of books on Tibetan Buddhism, which was very life-changing for me. It also kind of brought a lot of ease in the turbulent teenage times.
yeah.
Yeah, so I feel it's kind of important to have a sense of that there's like something more to life than rather just being and like an animal or something.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, of course, like, yeah, spirituality is such a wide word. That should also be separated from religion, but even that, it has brought us so much distraction, but at the same time so much feeling of hope in people's lives and purpose.
Do you feel that you do you have any death anxiety or like scares of dying?
Yeah, I think I do. I used to not have it when I was a teenager, but recently I really do feel like it's too early for me to go. There's still so many fun things to do, and I'm having just such a great time over here.
Yeah, but I feel like Buddhism and these things can calm that.
Yeah,
also.
that's why I feel like maybe at some point I should return to those books to kind of like get rid of that fear, because it has been present in my life. Maybe because I'm having such a good time, and like when I was a teenager I was like really good to go at some points, but now I feel like there's so much to discover, and it's yeah.
Yeah, you found your place.
Yeah.
And and a feeling of being like respected. I think that's so important, that you're allowed to be the person you are, which it sounds like people didn't give you that space when you were in school. It sounds like the teachers and the other students, like
no, it's like such a tough thing about being a child or a teenager, that you're constantly not being taken serious.
Oh yes,
and
definitely.
like this phrase of "you don't know what you're doing" is so enraging. I used to hear it a lot, and now I always kind of try to stay with the thought that I know what I'm doing, even if it doesn't look like I'm doing very well in the society norms of like success or like doing well at school. And now I feel like I kind of been very lucky to be able to prove them wrong.
This one is too easy. Introvert or extrovert?
Introvert.
Yeah. Anime or horror?
Anime for sure. I don't like horror that much. I don't know. It's my thing with movies. I really like to see like happy and beautiful movies. Of course, it can be nice to see like a touching movie sometimes, but like horror, it's, you know, when you take time to watch a movie, you also take time from your free time and you choose 2 hours to dedicate it to a picture. I used to look at something that can like have an aesthetical value or kind of like live the spirits, and I don't feel like I voluntarily want to look at blood or get scared. There's so many scares in regular life of a human being. I don't want to get scared. I don't want to scare myself on purpose. Like the jump scares.
I feel you completely, but you formulated it so well that I'm gonna steal those words and say it whenever someone wants to watch horror.
Yeah, I don't want to like voluntarily scare myself. There's enough scary things.
I agree. Classy or trashy?
It's been a ride between the two during the years.
Glitter Buffalo says it all. It's the mix.
Yeah, it's the mix. It has everything has its limit, I guess, and I think it's up to everyone to choose. I think for me personally, I would maybe choose, I don't know, classy. I just get like this image. I don't have like a very pretty picture of class in my head. Because what is class? It's class, and what is trash, really?
Yeah, it's true. Who judge? Who's to judge? Coffee or club mate?
Oh, both. I like both.
Yeah, are you caffeine addicted?
No, I try to limit myself to 1 coffee a day.
Same.
Sometimes maybe 2 if I'm like really feeling.
If it's a day off.
If I feel it's very needed, 2 at most. But yeah,
I feel you. Thank you so much. This was lovely to speak to you.
Thank you so much for having me.
This was it for Playful Podcast this week, but please follow, subscribe, and listen to our next episode. And if you want to have a say about future artists or even ask your own question to one of our guests, follow us on Instagram and make sure to add your question when we lift our coming guests. Thank you so much for joining, and see you next week.